Hello and welcome back. Are you ready to hack your first target? Everything we learned up to here was building up to this moment. We're going to use all of our previous knowledge that we got to hack our target. Of course, this is just one of the many exploits that we will cover in this course, but it is important because it is our first one. In this case, we're of course going to be attacking the Metasploitable for our first exploit, so make sure you start it up, check out the IP address of Metasploitable. In my case it is 192.168.1.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open two terminals. In the first one I will start my MSF console, and in the second one I will perform the nmap scan for the version of the service. So we already know the command sudo nmap-sv and then the IP address of my Metasploitable. It will ask me for the password, I will input it right here and it will start the scan. And you can open your Metasploit framework once the scan is running, and once you open it, just wait for the scan to finish. Okay, so here it is. This is an output that we're already familiar with. Let's see whether we can exploit the target, and we're going to start in order. Let's go with the FTP port first. So we notice right here which version of service is it running. In this case, vsftpd 2.3.4. And also keep in mind that there is really no plan once you do something like this. We only know that the goal for us is to find an exploit if this software is vulnerable. Now, even though we know that best search would be us going on internet and typing vsftp vulnerability, but I myself like to run the search exploit tool first, just to see whether we already have it right here on the machine. So I will open another terminal and I will copy the name of the version, in this case vsftpd 2.3.4, copy it and type search exploit and then paste the version name. If I press enter right here, we get one result. We get vsftpd backdoor command execution. And in the right column, as you remember, we get the path to this exploit. There is one thing that we should notice right here. This is .rb. What does this mean? Well, this most likely means that this exploit belongs to Metasploit framework. And it also tells us that right here in the brackets. So it means that we will have it right here under one of these 2000 exploits. So how we can find it? Of course, we are not going to be listing all the 2000 exploits and trying to find the correct one. What we can do is we can type search and then the software name, so vsftpd. And here it is. Exploit, Unix, for the FTP, and it is the vsftpd 2.3.4 version backdoor. It came out in 2011. It is ranked excellent, which means this exploit works, and here is the description for it. Let's read more about it, but first we need to select it. So to do that, we can type use exploit Unix FTP and then the name of the exploit. Press enter and we can see the payload is default configured to cmd Unix interact. But we're going to check this out in just a second. Let us first clear the screen and type the command show info. We want to read more about this exploit. So it will tell us in the description, this module exploits a malicious backdoor that was added to the vsftpd download archive. This backdoor was introduced in the zip file archive between June 30th, 2011 and July 1st, 2011, according to the most recent information available. This backdoor was removed on July 3rd, 2011. Interesting. Let's see whether we got the vulnerable version. So if I clear the screen and type the next command, which is show options, we will see right here what are the things that we need to set up in order for this to work. So in this case, we only got two things. We got the R hosts and we got the R port. And this is the remote host, which is the IP address of our target, and the R port is the port number where the FTP is running on the target machine. If we go to my scan, we will see the port is set correctly, which is port 21. So this is something that we will not change. However, we need to set our remote host IP address. So let's set the IP address of Metasploitable, set our hosts 192.168.1.5 in my case. The payload is set by default, and if I type show payloads to see all of the available payloads that we have, for this particular attack, we only get this single payload. So there is nothing really to change right here. We're going to use that one. And we can see it doesn't require any additional options whatsoever. So the easier for us, the better. Under the description, we can see it is a Unix command. We simply just interact with established connection. So I expect that with this, we're going to be able to execute commands on target machine if we manage to exploit it. Under the targets, we can type show targets to see the available ones, and we got none because this is an actual exploit for the software. So in order to be able to exploit the target has to be running this software version, which in our case it is running. So everything is set. Let us double check, type show options. We got the IP address of the target, we got the port number where the software is running on the target machine, and all we need to type to execute this is type exploit. Press enter. And here it is. We got the command shell session 1 opened on the target system. How do I know this? Well, it doesn't give us any output right here, but if I type, for example, ls, you will see we are getting an output. And this ls didn't execute on our Kali Linux machine. It executed on the Metasploitable. We are on that machine right now. We successfully exploited it. We can run any commands that we want, so if I type who am I, it will tell us that we are the root account. So not only did we manage to hack that machine, we also are root privileged account, so we can do anything we want on it. If I type pwd to check my current directory, I am in the / directory. And if I type ifconfig, just to prove to you that we're on the target machine, we can see the output is 192.168.1.5. So that is the IP address of Metasploitable, as you can see right here. Inside of the / directory that we're currently at, we can create files right now. Let's go to the Metasploitable just to show you, and if I type ls in the / directory, these are the current files inside of this directory. If I type now mkdir and then test, and I type ls once again, now you will see that we successfully created the test directory on the Metasploitable machine. And if we check it on the machine itself, here it is. Here is the test directory that we just created. So we successfully hacked the target. Now, the reason we are getting an output like this is because this is not really that good of a shell. This is not a Meterpreter shell, so that we get a well-organized output. But nonetheless, it is a shell indeed. We can execute the commands and we get the output of those commands back. And not only that, but we are a root account on the target system. Now, to exit the shell, we can just type exit. And it will tell us right here, command shell session 1 closed. And it was that easy. We gained root privilege account on the Metasploitable machine, and we could have done anything on it. This is as good as it can get. And this is exactly what we are looking for once we try to exploit a target. Now, sometimes it is this easy, but sometimes it isn't. And we will see some complicated exploits later on, and it will be even more complicated to exploit a target if it doesn't have any vulnerability. But for now, we are happy. We managed to hack our first target. But this is just one of the vulnerabilities. Let's keep exploring and see in the next few videos if the Metasploitable has some other vulnerabilities as well. And then after we finish with Metasploitable, we're going to move on to some other harder targets.